بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا مولانا رسول الله وآله وصحبه من والاه. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن سيدنا مولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كلام الله تعالى، وخير الهدي هدي سيدنا محمد عليه الصلاة والسلام، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. وما قل ودل خير مما كثر وألهى، وقليل يغنيك خير من كثير يطغيك، وإنما توعدون لآت وما أنتم بمعجزين. وبعد. Dear respected brothers and sisters in Islam, tonight inshallah ta'ala we're going to discuss the main lessons in juz number 17. In juz number 17, tonight is the 17th night, and inshallah ta'ala we have only 3 nights left, and then after that we're going to start the last 10 nights of Ramadan, insha'Allah azza wa jalla. And it's very important to invest your time at night to make dua and to pray at least 2 rak'at qiyamul layl after Salatul Isha or before Salatul Fajr, and to invest in your time and do dua also before Salat al-Maghrib. So 2 times you need to invest from now inshallah ta'ala to the end of Ramadan. 5 minutes before the adhan of Maghrib, and 2 rak'at at night qiyamul layl at any point in qiyamul layl inshallah ta'ala. And Juz number 17, it has only 2 surahs, 2 big surahs, Surah Al-Anbiya, the Prophets, and Surah Al-Hajj, Pilgrimage. And subhanAllah, Allah Azza wa Jal put these 2 surahs together in one juz because there is somehow spiritual connections between the Anbiya of Allah Azza wa Jal and Al-Bayt Al-Atiq, the sacred house in Mecca Al-Mukarramah, especially Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam was also mentioned in Surah Al-Anbiya. As I said before, we're not going to repeat what we have said before regarding the Anbiya. If we're going to quote another Nabi, another Nabi Prophet, we're going to mention some other lessons from his life or some other beautiful situations from his life through which we can learn some new lessons inshallah ta'ala. And that's what I'm trying to do in tafsir of the Ajza in this month. So inshallah ta'ala we're going to start, and the first lesson that we have from the main lessons that we have in juz number 17 is in Surah Al-Anbiya. Allah Azza wa Jal started Surah Al-Anbiya by giving strong reminders to people of the day of Qiyamah. قال الله عز وجل اقترب للناس حسابهم وهم في غفلة معرضون. اقترب للناس حسابهم. Al-Hisab is the reckoning. Al-Hisab is the judgment, the day of Qiyamah. So Allah Azza wa Jal, He's saying the time of people's judgment has drawn near. The day of Qiyamah is approaching us, and it's coming very close. It's coming very close to us. Yet they are heedlessly turning away. Oh yes, that's exactly what I wanted to mention. اقترب للناس حسابهم وهم في غفلة معرضون. We are really heedless of the akhirah. We are focused so much in our dunya. We are focused so much on our work, which is not, there's nothing bad to focus on your work. There is nothing bad with you focusing on your education. There is nothing bad to focus on taking care of your family. There is nothing bad with this. But what I'm trying to say is, don't be heedless of the religion of Allah Azza wa Jal. Look what Allah Azza wa Jal said, and try to reflect on that a little bit and see if I am doing this or you're doing this or one of the people around you are doing the same. قال ما يأتيهم من ذكر من ربهم محدث إلا استمعوه وهم يلعبون. Whenever new reminder comes to people from their Lord, they only listen to it jokingly. They never take it seriously. And then he said, لاهية قلوبهم. لاهية قلوبهم. Their hearts are totally distracted with this world. Our hearts are totally distracted by this world. It's totally distracted with our family, with our education, with our life, with our livelihood, with everything that we do in this life. Look, if you want to understand this ayah, reflect on, for example, how many people attend this lecture. For example, How many people attend this lecture? You know, not only this lecture, all lectures online, how many people attend them? And if you compare the audience who attend the lectures to people who attend concerts, for example, and see the difference in number, or see how many views in a song, for example, and compare this to how many views that we have in one of the lectures by one of the Muslim scholars around the world. When you do that, you will be able to understand why Allah Azza wa Jalla is saying we are heedless. We only receive the reminder jokingly. We don't pay a lot of attention. Our hearts is really distracted. How many Muslims live in this city, for example? How many Muslims live in the city of Regina? I don't know if you know the answer. We have about 15,000 Muslims live in Regina. About 15,000 Muslims live in Regina. Okay, so if you want to count the number of people who attend this lecture and the lecture that's presented by any of our respected Imam in the city, or even around the whole province. In the whole province of Saskatchewan, we have 25,000 Muslims. Okay, in the whole province of Saskatchewan, we have 25,000 Muslims. How many Muslims attend this lecture and all other lectures in the province by the other respected Imams? Like Sheikh Ilyas, Sheikh Rida Bidir, Sheikh Saeed Nu'man, Sheikh Altaf, any other Imam that you know of in Saskatchewan, and Sheikh Faisal in Musjo, for example, and I don't want to miss any names. So any Imam who present a lecture, count all those people who attend the lectures and see how, and compare this to how many Muslims live in this city. 25,000 Muslims. And this is the only number of people who attend the lectures or the halaqats by the Imams of the city. For example, if you go to the masajid, I'm speaking about my own masjid where I prayed 5 times a day before the pandemic. In Asr prayer, it's always 1 or 2 people praying Asr with me. It's very rare to find a lot of people. Only in Ramadan, the masjid, mashallah, we have 2, 3, 4 lines sometimes in Salatul Asr. In Fajr prayer, certain number of people, or the same exact people who come every day to pray Fajr are the same people. And compare the number of people who come for Fajr prayer, for example, every single day to the rest of the Muslimin who live in this city. Subhanallah al-Azim. So now we can really understand why Allah Azza wa Jal opened Surah Al-Anbiya with this reminder. اقترب للناس حسابهم. The day of judgment, the reckoning of people is approaching them very fast. وهم في غفلة معرضون. They are heedless. They are turning away from the religion of Allah Azza wa Jal. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to rectify our situation. You know, the disbelievers at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, what they used to do when he, for example, he goes to recite some Quran next to the Kaaba, or to give them some reminders, for example, next to the Kaaba, or in their marketplaces, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, they used to say what? لا تسمعوا لهذا القرآن. Don't listen to this Quran. وَالْغَوْ فِيهِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَغْلِبُونَ. And drown it out. Drown it out meaning make a lot of noise and raise your voices around the Quran when Muhammad ﷺ is reciting while he's giving the reminder, so you don't listen to what he's saying. Because once people listen to the truth, it will have a huge impact on them, especially if it's said by sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the one who received the revelation himself, the best of creations ever, alayhi salatu wasalam. So the first lesson that we have here is to be always remembering the akhirah and the hereafter, and that one day we're going to meet Allah Azza wa Jal. And it doesn't mean that we're all the time scared. No. It just, you do whatever you do in your life, but only keep Allah Azza wa Jal in the back of your head the whole time. The second lesson that we have here, it's a very beautiful ayah that I actually posted yesterday on my Facebook page when I was reviewing the page to see the lessons that I'm going to discuss with you. And it's ayah number 10 in Surah Al-Anbiya. By the way, Surah Al-Anbiya is chapter 21. Chapter 21. Ayah number 10, Allah Azza wa Jal says, لَقَدْ أَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكُمْ كِتَابًا فِيهِ ذِكْرُكُمْ أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. If I want glory in this world, if I want happiness and success in this world, or if I want glory in the akhirah, or if I want glory, happiness and success in this world and in the hereafter, I need to follow this book. If somebody is looking forward to be successful in this world, the answer is please go follow the book of Allah Azza wa Jal. If somebody is looking forward to be successful in the akhirah, go follow the book of Allah Azza wa Jal. If you want to succeed in both, we tell him go follow the book of Allah Azza wa Jal. But follow it the way that Rasulullah implemented his Quran, or the Quran of his Lord, and the way the Sahaba radwanullahi alayhim implemented this Quran. After the Sahaba radwanullah alayhim implemented the book of Allah Azza wa Jal, they turned from ru'al al-ghanam, from shepherds, they were shepherds radiallahu anhum ardahum, to qadah lil-umam, and they became leaders of nations. When they implemented the book of Allah Azza wa Jal. Quran doesn't only focus on spirituality. You know, people who don't like this religion, they will love you so much if your Islam is only something about spirituality. If our religion only focuses on spirituality, our enemies would have no problems with us. People who hate this religion, if our religion is only inside of the mosque, they will always love us. We're so good because we don't have any impact in the society. We don't have any problem with you if you stay in your mosque and just worship and pray and fast Ramadan. You're a good Muslim. But once you do community service, and once you have an impact on people, and once they see this Islam is making you improve mentally, educationally, socially, and physically, and spiritually, they see you improving in every aspect in this life, now they will become jealous of you, and people are enemies. They will even become they will become even more stubborn towards you. They will hate you more when they see you successful after you follow the guidance of this book. Allah Azza wa Jalla said that if you need glory in this world and in the akhirah, you follow this book. قال الله لقد أنزلنا إليكم كتابا فيه ذكركم. We have surely revealed to you a book in which there is glory for you. Glory for you. أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. Will you not then understand? Wallahi al-azim, glory is in this book, in the book of Allah Azza wa Jal. In the book of Allah Azza wa Jal, glory and success and happiness in this world, in every aspect in your life, is in this book. If you find a Muslim who is a failure in any aspect of the aspects that I mentioned, that's one of two things. Whether Allah Azza wa Jal is testing him, He wants him to fail in this aspect of his life, even though he did a lot of work to succeed, or he's not following the proper Islam. He's not following the book of Allah Azza wa Jal properly as Rasulullah and his Sahaba did. Because they did it in the history, Ridwanullahi alayhim, and they succeeded. And they became leaders of nations after they were shepherds, Ridwanullahi alayhim wa ardahum. The next point that I have here, we have a practical example of giving da'wah to Allah with wisdom and nice advice and debating with people in the best manner ever. Remember, we talked about Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam in Surah Al-Baqarah, and we saw the logic when he used the logic with his people, and when Allah Azza wa Jal when he asked Allah Azza wa Jal, Ya Allah, show me how you resurrect the dead. And Allah Azza wa Jal taught him how to do this, right? Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam is one of the Anbiya who always use wisdom and logic when he speaks to his people. Because you know what? He grew up in a family, subhanallah. His father, Sayyidina Ibrahim's father, was an idol maker. He's not only an idol worshipper. He didn't only used to worship idols, but he used to make idols. It was his business. That's his job. Like, if people stop worshipping idols, Prophet Ibrahim's father won't be able to make money. He doesn't have livelihood if people stop worshipping idols. And people who can understand what I'm saying now very well are people who are converts, new Muslims. Or somebody, for example, who is religious and who grew up in a family that is not religious. He can understand exactly what Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam has gone through. Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam grew up in a family when his father was a worshipper of idols, and he was also a maker of idols. If you go to ayat 57 to 68. Ayat 57. So what do we have in here? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is narrating to us the Prophet Sayyidina Ibrahim's story. وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا إِبْرَاهِيمَ رُشْدَهُ وَكُنَّا بِهِ عَالِمِينَ. Indeed, we have given Ibrahim alayhi salam sound judgment. رُشْدَهُ. He was intelligent alayhi salatu wasalam. وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا إِبْرَاهِيمَ رُشْدَهُ. We have given him sound intelligence. وَكُنَّا بِهِ عَالِمِينَ. So it's something very praiseworthy when a believer is Rashid. He has intelligence, he has wisdom in his da'wah. It is something Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praised in his Quran. And he mentioned about Prophet Ibrahim. إِذْ قَالَ لِأَبِيهِ وَقَوْمِهِ مَا هَذِهِ التَّمَاثِيلِ التي أنتم لها عاكفون. When he was talking to his father and his people, what are these idols that you worship, people? What are these idols you're worshipping? قالوا وجدنا آباءنا لها عابدين. We found our forefathers worshipping the same idols, so I'm doing the same thing. You know, just I grew up in a family. All of them are Christians, all of them are Jews, all of them are Muslims, so I became Muslim. All of them are, you know what, they follow that school of thought, or they follow that sect, so I have to become like my family. Without me doing my own research, I just follow what my family do. So that's what Prophet Ibrahim's people told him. When he said, why you worship idols? They said, because our forefathers, our family, used to do the same thing. So we're doing the same thing, we're just following their steps. Do you have any logic behind this? No. So I'm telling even our youth, please don't follow anything blindly. Don't follow anything blindly. Of course, there's a part of our religion that has to do with submission. Allah Azza wa Jal will test your iman, will see, are you going to submit or not, even if you don't understand sometimes the wisdom. If even because of my lack of understanding, I cannot tell you the wisdom behind a certain ruling. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to test you. Are you going to follow it regardless of the wisdom or not? There's a part of Islam is like this, and by the way, this part exists in every single religion, and that's the meaning of theology. Our religion, a part of it is theological, so we have just to follow even if we don't understand. But for the vast majority of the rulings of any religion, especially in Islam, you have to find the wisdom. You have to study first. You have to understand why I'm doing this, why I'm doing that. So Prophet Ibrahim's people, their problem is that they did not think about the idol worshipping. They just worshipped what their forefathers used to do. قالوا وجدنا آباءنا لها عابدين. His response was لقد كنتم أنتم وآباؤكم في ضلال مبين. All of you are misguided, by the way. What you're doing is wrong. قالوا أجئتنا بالحق أم أنت من اللاعبين. Then Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, when they started to argue with him regarding Allah Azza wa Jal and the oneness of Allah Azza wa Jal, the creator of the heavens and the earth, he tried to convince them, otherwise they did not agree. Then he said, وَتَاللَّهِ لَأَكِيدَنَّ أَصْنَامَكُمْ بَعْدَ أَن تُوَلُّوا مُدْبِرِينَ. Look at that. He said, Wallahi, once you leave from here and you turn your backs leaving, you turn away, I'm going to plot against your gods. Like, I'm going to plot against your God. Imagine somebody's telling you, I'm going to plot against your God. What are you going to say as a Muslim? Because you know that Allah created him and you know the ultimate power of Allah Azza wa Jal, you're going to laugh at him. Okay, go do whatever. You're going to plot against Allah, you're still going to feel like this person doesn't know what he's saying aslan. Just go do it. Because nobody in the history could harm Allah Azza wa Jal ever. Go show me what you're going to do. But Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, he told his people that because he knows he can do this. And they didn't respond. They didn't say anything. Why? Because they know they are just idols. They are made of rocks or made of any other material. You know, if he wants to harm them, he will be able to harm our gods. Imagine that. وَاللَّهِ لَأَكِدَنَّ أَصْنَامَكُمْ بَعْدَ أَن تُوَلُّوا مُدْبِرِينَ. What did he do? How did he plot against the idols, their gods? فَجَعَلَهُمْ جُذَاذًا. He smashed all of them into pieces. Imagine that. Somebody's smashing a god into pieces. How come they worship them? فَجَعَلَهُمْ جُذَاذًا إِلَّا كَبِيرًا لَهُمْ. Except for the biggest amongst them. He did not touch him. لَعَلَّهُمْ إِلَيْهِ يَرْجِعُونَ. So when they come back and they see everybody's dead, all our gods are dead except for one, so he must have killed them. Maybe they had a fight and he got mad at them and he killed the other gods. Imagine they still worship those gods. Like, so, look, our aqidah as Muslims is that Allah Azza wa Jal is so great that we cannot even see him, but we know his names and we know his attributes in the Quran and in the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we see Allah in his ayat, in the signs, in the revelation, in the creation around us. We reflect on the creation of Allah to understand Allah's greatness. But those people, subhanAllah, they're out of their minds. They worship idols that somebody can even destroy in front of them and play with them like that. Sayyidina Ibrahim is trying to make them think. He's using logic, alayhi salatu wasalam. قالوا من فعل هذا بآلهتنا إنه لمن الظالمين. They came back, oh, our gods are dead. Who did destroy our gods? Who killed my God? من فعل هذا بآلهتنا إنه لمن الظالمين. He must be one of the wrongdoers. He's an evil doer. You know, he's a bad person to kill my God. قالوا من فعل هذا بآلهتنا إنه لمن الظالمين. I know it sounds silly when I'm saying it like that, and I'm trying to make it sound silly in purpose. Because what they are doing makes no sense. قالوا سمعنا فتى يذكرهم يقال له إبراهيم. We heard that there's a young man by the name of Ibrahim was speaking ill of our gods. He must have killed them. You know, قالوا سمعنا فتى يذكرهم يقال له إبراهيم قالوا فأتوا به على أعين الناس لعلهم يشهدون. Bring him in front of the people's eyes so they would watch what's going to happen to him. They would watch his trial. Huh? قالوا فأتوا به على أعين الناس لعلهم يشهدون. Once he came in front of people, أأنت فعلت هذا بآلهتنا يا إبراهيم? Are you the one who killed our gods? Did you do that? أأنت فعلت هذا بآلهتنا? His response, look at that. He's trying to make them think. And actually they started thinking for a second. Allah said that. قال, he said, بل فعله كبيرهم. No, it's not me. It's the biggest. The biggest God actually killed the rest of them. بل فعله كبيرهم فاسألوهم. Go ask them. إن كانوا ينطقون. If they can talk back to you, just to go ask them. Look, he's trying to make them think. And they actually did start thinking. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَرَجَعُوا إِلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ. They came back to their senses. Oh, actually they don't respond to us. فَرَجَعُوا إِلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ فَقَالُوا إِنَّكُمْ أَنْتُمُ الظَّالِمُونَ. They start to say to themselves, to each other, you know what, this young man is right. These gods cannot even speak back to us. How come they can help us achieve what we want to achieve? إِنَّكُمْ أَنْتُمُ الظَّالِمُونَ. It's not Ibrahim is the evildoer. You people are the wrongdoers. For a second, they started to think. And then Allah said, ثُمَّ نُكِسُوا عَلَى رُؤُوسِهِمْ. And then all of a sudden they went back to their original state. لَقَدْ عَلِمْتَ مَا هَؤُلَاءِ يَنْطِقُونَ. You know, Ibrahim, they cannot speak. Why are you saying that? Okay, so they cannot speak. And I can kill them. Why do you still worship them? You know? So the point of the story of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, he has many stories mentioned in the Quran. That's one of them. The point of this story is to, when you do da'wah, try to make people think. When you go talk to a Muslim, you don't have to mention some ayat from the Quran. He doesn't believe in the Quran. You need to use logic. You need to connect your religion to science. Now people believe nowadays in science. Some people worship science nowadays. So if you connect your religion to science and you prove that in this Quran there are the roots of science, they're going to believe in your religion and respect it more and more. But don't just quote ayat and hadith from the Quran. It's not going to work with people who are not believers in your religion. The next point that we have here is a very important story from Surah Anbiya, from the story of Prophet the Noon. And the Noon literally means the man of the whale, Prophet Jonah alayhi salatu wasalam. Prophet Jonah alayhi salatu wasalam, Allah Azza wa Jal told us his story. He said, وَذَنُّونِ إِذْ ذَهَبَ مُغَاضِبًا فَظَنَّ أَن لَّن نَّقْدِرَ عَلَيْهِ. You know, Sayyidina Nuh alayhi salam, he stayed 950 years to invite his people to Tawheed and to Islam, and nobody responded to him. And he never gave up. Prophet Jonah alayhi salam, the Noon, he also stayed for a long time doing da'wah to his people, and they all rejected his da'wah. And then at some point he gave up. And then he sensed that the punishment of Allah, the torment of Allah is going to come to these people soon. So he decided to leave. He decided to leave the city of his people because none of them is believing, and this means Allah is going to torture all of them, and he doesn't want to be included, so he left. Alayhi salatu wasalam, Prophet the Noon, the man of the whale, Jonah. But the problem is what? He left without Allah's permission, Prophet Jonah. He should have taken Allah's permission before he left. Alayhi salatu wasalam. So Allah said, وَذَنُّونِ إِذْ ذَهَبَ مُغَاضِبًا. The Noon left in rage. He was angry. He left his people. فَظَنَّ أَن لَّن نَّقْدِرَ عَلَيْهِ. But he thought that we're not going to be able to bring him back. We're not going to be able to restrict him. He thought that we will let him go away with it. No, that's not the right thing to do. You know, it can be something appropriate for me or for any other da'iyah to do that. If he's doing da'wah to his people and nobody's responding, yeah, I mean, I might just go try somewhere else. You know, if da'wah is not working in this community, I can go somewhere else. Any other da'iyah can do that. You know, you have tons of masajid right out there that are looking for du'as. People need da'wah, so go somewhere else. That would be appropriate to someone like myself, a sinner. Someone, another imam was also a sinner. But to a prophet of Allah Azza wa Jal, to leave his people and to give up on his people without Allah's permission, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that's not appropriate to a prophet to do. فنادى في الظلمات. So what happened, as you know the story, that he was swallowed by a whale and he stayed in the belly of the whale. This dua, I have mentioned this dua before, but I'm going to repeat it again. This dua, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, if you add this dua to your list of du'as, for example, you're going to do some du'as tonight. If you add this dua, this statement, in the middle of your du'as are guaranteed to be accepted by Allah Azza wa Jal. And Nabi Asam also said in a hadith that's authenticated by Imam al-Dhahabi and al-Hakim in his Mustadrak al Sahihain, that if somebody is sick and he says this dua 40 times, if somebody is sick and he says this dua of Prophet Jonah 40 times, and then he dies out of this disease, he will take the reward of a shaheed. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala heals him, he will be healed with all his sins forgiven because of this one dua. And this dua is mentioned here in Surah Al-Anbiya, chapter 21, verse 87. What is this dua? لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين. Add this dua to your list, which is, there is no God to be worshipped except you, Ya Allah. I was indeed amongst the wrongdoers. إني كنت من الظالمين. So I'm admitting that I am one of the wrongdoers. I do a lot of mistakes, and Allah Azza wa Jal, the most merciful, and there is no one who is worthy of worship except Allah Azza wa Jal. So if you add this dua to your list of du'as, that's gonna add a lot of blessings to your list of du'as, inshallah ta'ala. Next point, I have only 2 points left. The next point, I'm just gonna mention two more points. The second last point is the permission to self-defense in Islam. You know, the self-defense is actually something that's allowed in every law in the world. And there's nothing wrong with this self-defense. If somebody is harming you, you have the right to take your rights from him. You have the right to defend yourself. I mean, in every single law and every single religion, you have the right to do that. But if somebody asks me, for example, as a Muslim, where do you have the self-defense evidence in your book? So I go now with him to Surah Al-Hajj, which is chapter 22, verse 38 and 39. So Surah Al-Hajj, chapter 22, verses 38 and 39, Allah Azza wa Jalla is talking about the permission to self-defense, right? Which exists in every single religion and everything in every single law. Allah Azza wa Jalla said, "Inna Allah yudafi'u 'anil ladhina amanu." Indeed, Allah defends those who believe. Indeed, Allah defends those who believe. So in the first place, Allah is telling you, you don't really need to think a lot. Before he talked about self-defense, he said, you don't really need to think a lot about people who plot against you, or people who hate you, or people who are haters towards you, or people who want to harm you somehow, or people who want to deceive you. You don't really need to think of them too much, because Allah Azza wa Jal, if you're a true believer, He's gonna take care of them. That's the first point. Allah is saying here, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُدَافِعُ عَنِ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Allah Azza wa Jal defends, indeed Allah Azza wa Jal defends the true believers. So that's the first thing. Strengthen your iman, Allah is going to take care of people. طيب? And then he said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ كُلَّ خَوَّانٍ كَفُورٍ. Allah does not like people who deceive others, and He doesn't like the ungrateful people. So if somebody else wants to deceive you, to cheat you, to harm you, to plot against you, Allah's going to take care of him. And then after that, He said, but by the way, if you want to take your rights, you can do that through the permissible means and channels, through the permissible channels and permissible means in the country where you live. Following the law, you take your rights from people. He said, أُذِنَ لِلَّذِينَ يُقَاتَلُونَ بِأَنَّهُمْ ظُلِمُوا. Permission is granted to those being fought, for they have been wronged. So if somebody fights against you, you have the right to take your rights back. You have law. You live in a country that has laws. Go immediately and take your rights. Is it better to forgive other people? It's always better to forgive other people. As Allah said in Surah Shura, وَجَزَاءُ سَيِّئَةٍ سَيِّئَةٌ مِثْلُهَا. The proper reaction to a sayyi'ah, to an evil, is an evil act. Just like take your rights. You have the right to self-defend yourself in Islam. Nobody can tell you you're wrong if you do that. But Allah said immediately after, فَمَنْ عَفَى وَأَصْلَحَ فَأَجْرُهُ عَلَى اللَّهِ. But if you forgive people and you try to rectify them, you try to advise them, that would be even better in the sight of Allah Azza wa Jal. فَمَنْ عَفَى وَأَصْلَحَ فَأَجْرُهُ عَلَى اللَّهِ. So these are the two ayat that speak about self-defense. Very beautiful ayats. So just please go back and read them again, 38 and 39. The last point in verse 37, last point is the question: why do Muslims sacrifice animals? That's the topic of the ayah. But also the question can be from one of our young people, for example: why do I have to come to the masjid when the masjid is open, inshallah, after this pandemic? Why do I have to pray? Why do I have to fast? Why do I have to deprive myself of food and drinks? Why do I have to lower my gaze? Why do I have to only have halal transactions? Why am I not allowed to eat pork, to drink, to have a girlfriend or a boyfriend? Why am I not allowed to do what I want to do? Why? The reason behind this, as I said many times, and I keep repeating this idea, why? Because this is one of the most challenging ideas that we have in our world nowadays. Because you know what? The idea of submission, like absolute submission, is not gonna fly in this generation. They're not gonna listen. Like, you know, the generations before us, like my grandparents and my parents, yes, if you tell them about absolute submission to Allah and to the religion, they're gonna listen. And we see them submitting to Allah. But now we live in an open world. You cannot tell your son or your daughter about absolute submission. Very few of them are going to listen, but the rest of them are not going to be convinced. You have to convince them. But again, the answer sometimes has to be, you just have to do it. Because Allah said this here in Surah Al-Hajj, verse 37, He said, لَن يَنَالَ اللَّهَ لُحُومُهَا وَلَا دِمَاؤُهَا. He said about sacrificing animals, He said, neither their meat nor blood reaches Allah. When we slaughter an animal, Allah is not the blood and the meat of this or the skin of this sacrificed animal is not going to reach Allah Azza wa Jal. That's not what Allah is looking forward to have from you. But what Allah is going to is looking forward for you to do is وَلَكِنْ يَنَالُهُ التَّقْوَى مِنْكُمْ. وَلَكِنْ يَنَالُهُ التَّقْوَى مِنْكُمْ. There is something inside of your heart that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is looking forward. Once you have this in your heart, now you're a true believer. And then Allah is going to open the door for you to find the answers to the difficult questions. Yeah? وَلَكِنْ يَنَالُهُ التَّقْوَى مِنْكُمْ. What is that one thing that Allah is looking forward to in your heart? Is taqwa. وَلَكِنْ يَنَالُهُ التَّقْوَى مِنْكُمْ. Just submission to Allah Azza wa Jal. Submission to Allah Azza wa Jal. So this idea that I always say, that please, when you receive a question by one of our young people, your first answer should be, give me some time. If you don't have a logical answer, just ask him to give you some time until you go study, you go ask scholars, and they give you the answer. Otherwise, the last resort is submission to Allah Azza wa Jal, and that's what Allah is looking forward to have, for us to have. And we can find this in ayah number 37 in Surah Al-Hajj, as I just mentioned. Before I end my talk tonight, inshallah ta'ala, I would like to make a brief announcement. We're going, inshallah ta'ala, to have our fundraising for our new masjid project. It's going to be online through Zoom, inshallah ta'ala. We're going to announce and post the links soon, and it's going to be on May 23rd, inshallah ta'ala, which is going to be Ramadan 29th, in the last 10 nights of Ramadan. The last night of the month of Ramadan, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to have our fundraising for our new masjid project. And as I said before and discussed and mentioned the opinions of the scholars, that you can pay your zakat towards building a masjid, a house of Allah Azza wa Jal. I said this before, and I can repeat this again, inshallah ta'ala, wherever you want me to repeat that and mention the names of the scholars who allowed this. So inshallah ta'ala, just make sure to attend that fundraising once we post the links. I will go now through your comments to see if we have any questions that I need to handle or something. Yeah. Yeah, we are like 5% Muslims here in Virginia. We're like 5%. Oh, by the way, our fundraising is May 22nd, not May 23rd. May 22nd, inshallah ta'ala. Yes, that's great. I mean, Sister Na'mana here is mentioning that why do we do some rituals in Islam? One of the main reasons is to increase our rituals and our taqwa towards Allah. That's exactly what Allah said in ayah number 37 in Surah Al-Hajj. You know, along with mentioning the wisdom behind every single ibadah, at some points there are some ibadah that you have just to do it as is, and that's something that you find in every religion, and by the way, in every law. But for laws, we just to follow it anyways. For religion, people argue and ask too many questions. My question: we have neighbors who are very good human beings. We really like them. Like for them to die with faith in Allah Azza. How can we give them da'wah? I mean, Tanya, you're asking about how to do da'wah to non-Muslims that you really like and they're neighbors. The best way to do da'wah is with your good personality and good character. Show them the true personality of a believer, as Rasulullah SAW used to do with his people, even before his ba'tha sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was known amongst his people as as-sadiq al-amin, the trustworthy, the truthful. So the best way to give da'wah to people, I said this before, and I quoted the ayat in some of the juz here. I cannot expect, like for example, if I'm not successful in different aspects of my life, like my family life is falling apart, and my job is, I'm not successful at work, and at a school I'm not doing a good job, and I don't even look presentable, and then I go ask people, look, this Quran is going to change your life. Nobody's gonna listen. Honestly, sorry, we have to be realistic. If I am not successful, people are not gonna believe me that this Quran is gonna make you successful. No, you have to show them by actions. Just show them the true believer and reflect on the ayat that we are given every single day. Reflect on the hadith of Rasulullah, his lifestyle. Read the seerah of the Sahaba. See how they used to deal with the Muslims. Or you know what? Rasulullah is the hujjah. He is our proof. Go back to his sunnah. That's enough for you. How did he used to deal with non-Muslims? Even type it on Google. How did Rasulullah deal with non-Muslims? His mercy towards non-Muslims. His justice towards non-Muslims. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. For example, when you see that and you try to implement this in your life, that's the best way to do da'wah. But just giving them a Quran copy, I mean, that's good. But giving them a copy of the Quran and the Quran hasn't changed me, how is it going to change someone else? You know, just to be realistic a little bit. Jazakumullah khairan. Can Zakatul Fitr be for deceased relatives as well? Deceased relatives? Can you please just elaborate more, yeah, Rabbi Friendly, please, ala what do you mean by deceased relatives? Can Zakatul Fitr be for deceased relative as well? I mean, like what? I don't understand. Like, give it someone who's dead, that's a deceased relative, or he's dead, does he have to pay it? Of course not. I don't know exactly the question. I don't understand the question. Barakallahu feekum, Sister Sarah. Sister Na'mana, Zakatul Fitr. I know now we have a lot of questions about i'tikaf and Zakatul Fitr. Sister Na'mana says, can it be given to anyone who comes under the category for other zakah? For sure, Zakatul Fitr can be given to anyone who comes under the category of the actual Zakatul Mal. Brother Danish, Assalamu alaikum. Is the Eid day on 24th of May decided? Yes, Eid is on 24th of May, inshallah ta'ala. طيب جزاكم الله خيرا بارك الله فيكم سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته